This time on LensVid Talk, Osee has camera control on an ultra-bright monitor. Lumix S1II. That's 3 cameras, 2 of them are new. And the Mavic 4 is finally here. It flies itself. Stick around.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Lou.
Hey, Ido.
And today we're recording LensVid Talk number 38. So we're getting up there. And we, as always, going to start with some stuff that we're currently reviewing. And this is something that we've been reviewing. I think that this review should be up by the time that this video will be up. This is the Osee 7-inch. It's called the G7 Pro. So this is a monitor that we got from Osee a couple of months ago, and we've been working with it on several productions. It's really interesting. It's basically a 3000 nits monitor, 7-inch monitor, which has touch and camera control functionalities.
For Lumix, right?
For a lot
Anybody?
of, for not everybody, I'll mention this in a second, but basically it's I would say in some respects it's similar to the Atomos that we have tested before. What's the name of the Atomos that we tested before?
Samurai. I forget.
No.
I forget what they're up to now.
No. I'll write it on the screen. But regardless, it's this one is a 7-inch. The Atomos is a 5-inch, which also has camera control functionalities. Both of them control cameras using USB-C. But before I'll touch onto the camera control function, the aspect of the monitor, I want to say that the monitor itself, I think, is just fantastic. The 3000 nit brightness is unbelievable. I just recorded a demo today for the review, showing how it looks in like super sunny, like midday. We have very.
You won't even need a sunshade.
No, at all. Like you compare it to the camera monitor, the Sony, which is usually horrible. On the Sony, you always can't see anything. Mm-hmm. And on this, you don't need a sunshade. You don't need anything. You know, even the reflections are very good. So it's really cool in this respect. It has like user.
You mean it doesn't have an overly glossy screen?
Yeah,
the reflections.
The reflections from the sun, like on the Sony monitor, they were horrible. And, if you play with them, you can get to an angle which is fine.
Right.
On this one, I didn't have any issues. Maybe if I would play with it some more, it would get some reflections. But
maybe it has an anti-glare coating. Yeah,
I think something. Yeah. But again, it's very bright. It has user configurable options, so you can set up. Let's say that you just want like audio meters and like zebras and peaking. You can set that one, and then for something else, you need also like a color, things with color, so you can set that up. And for a different one, you need something completely different. So you have like 20 something tools, and you can have like 6 or 8, I don't remember, user setups that you can change by swapping like left and right. And you have like, it's a touch monitor, so you can have like zoom in, punch in via Zoom. So that works. Not fully. Like I sent them some like notes on how they can improve it, because the way that like on your phone, the way that you punch in is just double tap. It doesn't work like this in here, which is a shame. Usually you double tap to punch into 100% and then double tap again to get out of 100%.
Oh, I separate with my fingers to zoom in.
But that's not to 100%.
Yeah.
That's whatever. You can zoom in like this. You can zoom in, but it depends. It takes time to do this. 100% just double tap and it goes to 100%. And it goes up to 4 times the regular magnification. I have monitors that goes up to 16, and sometimes it's important. What I would what I would really like to see is a picture-in-picture where you have like the full frame, and you can put like 100% or whatever more, whatever you want on the side, and then you can know the composition, but also to see the focus. I don't know of any monitor that can do that.
Yeah.
That would be really a really nice feature. Anyway, the camera control feature exists currently on specific cameras from specific brands. So it has a few Sony cameras, a few Nikon cameras, a few Panasonic cameras, and Canon cameras, but not all of them. Now, I know that this week, like, again, probably before even we are releasing this review, there is going to be a firmware update with some more cameras coming, and they told me that they're bringing even more cameras later on. So they are going to add more. At the moment, for Sony, like really at the moment, only our Sony A7 IV is supported. I think the FX30 is supported. I'm not sure about the FX3. But a few other Sonys is coming as well, and again, from other companies. When you connect like our A1 to this, which is at the moment it's not supported, it only allows me to do record, but not to change the shutter or the aperture or the white balance or any of those things. So it is what it is. The autofocus, this is maybe the most important thing. It has touch to autofocus, like you can touch the monitor to focus. It's not perfect. I would call it like still beta-ish level.
It doesn't respond well every
Sometimes
time?
It's not like if you touch the monitor on the camera, it's much better. If you touch the monitor itself, sometimes it doesn't recognize the place that you want to focus.
Not every touch screen touches or senses touch exactly the same way, so
My
you're sure
hand-
it's not...
100% you're right. My hands specifically are very non-touch friendly. I know it's something to do, I think, with like moisture on your fingers. I don't know.
Do you remember the elevator in Amsterdam at the hotel?
Where I couldn't press.
Oh, I thought I was the only one.
Oh,
I was
okay.
having so much... I was pressing exactly where I was supposed to press.
Yeah,
I think it was like, you know, how much of the pad was like pushed down onto the sensor.
I know.
It shouldn't be that hard.
I agree. No, generally, I don't like touch screens. If possible, I would really like to see monitors. I don't have a problem with having a touch screen. I just want, besides the touch screen, I want physical buttons. And the most that some screens have is like 4. I'm saying put 8. Why not?
Why not?
I have configurable buttons on the top. Choose whatever you want, like 100% zoom, 200% zoom, false color, zebras.
If they're worried about...
peaking.
If people are worried about hitting the buttons by accident, then have a button that turns all the buttons off.
Or just disable it in the
Yeah.
menus, whatever. Yeah, I agree. Anyway, so I would say that the monitor is a monitor. The viewing angles, the sharpness, the brightness, all the things that makes the monitor as a monitor. Even the menus are sort of okayish. In this respect, it's fantastic. And the camera control thing, it's still, again, beta-ish, like
Okay.
beta level. But they're working on it, so it might improve. And they're coming up with new firmware updates, so we'll see. And it's only controlled, unlike the port keys, it's only controlled via USB-C cable. So you won't be able to wirelessly control it. The port keys are, at the moment, the only ones that can do wireless control. So that review, G7 Pro is coming. Another review that we have been working on, but I really wanted to mention, this is a product that we mentioned in the past, in a past LensVid Talk, is the Westcott Easy Boom, basically boom.
Yeah.
It's called the Easy Boom, and it's a boom for light stands. And we got it a couple of months ago, but we didn't release a review because Westcott specifically asked us to wait, because we got it with something that was just recently released, and that's basically, I don't know how to call it exactly, adapter, whatever, like an extension, basically. I think the original one was 14 inches, which is not very long. Like if you want to go, let's say, if you want to shoot like, put a light behind me as a hair light, and you don't want to show the light stand in the frame. 14 inches is not a lot. 14 inches is what, like this, something like that. But if you want the light sense to be in here, then you have a problem. And the light like behind me on the top in here, then it's not enough. So they came up with a 24-inch version that we got. We got it like ahead of like the actual announcement, and now they announced it I think just a few weeks ago, and this will be a review with that. And I think 24 inch is much more usable. Basically, if you get it, I would suggest you getting the 24-inch, not the 14, unless you have very specific use case for a 14. So we'll have a review for that. I still want to test it on some productions that we didn't have. We try to play it with as a that was an interesting use case as basically cheap, not gimbal. How do you call it?
Jig?
Jib, yeah, exactly. Like a cheap jib. It's not designed for that, because a jib basically will, when you move the camera up and down on the jib, you also change the orientation of the camera. There is a connector, like a cable or something, that connects the handle that you have when you change the height to change the angle of the camera.
So you're still aimed at the subject.
Yeah. And this doesn't have it. But, and this is interesting, we have tried it with the Tail 2 from OBS Bot.
Yeah.
And the Tail 2 it's a PTZ camera, which also tracks.
So it'll do it automatically for you.
Exactly. So it can change the angle on its own. And it sort of worked. I'm not sure if it was, we didn't have a lot of it. We tried it on a production. We didn't have a lot of time to I think you were on that production. And we tried a little bit. We need to try it more. Obviously, this is not designed for that. This is not a jib. This is an actual boom.
Find out interesting things, though, combining
stuff maybe they can come up with something. I don't know, maybe in the future. But regardless, this review is coming, and it's a really interesting product. The most interesting thing is the price. It's much more affordable. We have a combo boom, which is fairly similar. In the review, I'll mention the differences, but it's much more expensive, like almost 3 times the price. So, so that's reviews also coming a little bit later on. So let's start by talking about some actual products that were announced recently. The first one is the Canon EOS R50V. Yeah, exactly. So the V is for video. The R50 has been around for almost 2 years now, something like that. We did an actual commercial for Canon for the R50 at the desert. It was kind of cool. The V is very similar. Like externally, I think it's almost the same. What differences do we have? So it trades the EVF for the built-in flash for enhanced video capabilities, as we mentioned. So 4K 60 cropped, 10-bit 422 internal recording, Canon Log 3 headphone jack, and I think the body is slightly redesigned for video. So
yeah, it has a 1/4" 20 on the side, so you can
mount I didn't notice that
camera vertically a little bit more easily in that sense.
I think that's the first camera that I've heard that has this. Really?
Does the FX3 or FX30 not have that?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They must, right?
Yeah. Okay. So these are cinema cameras.
It's like
talking
that.
Like a more.
Well, that's what they're. I think
fantastic.
That's the idea maybe that they're going for.
What no camera manufacturer at the moment does, for whatever reason, Sony has the 1/4" all over the body, and now you're saying that Canon has this. I don't think that Panasonic has anything similar. Some strange reason, but none of these companies are making 1/4" with eye locating pinholes. So they always twist. I don't understand why. Why not? I know. It's like camera manufacturers don't understand anything about accessories. They don't know how to rig cameras. So they don't make them in a way that will make it much easier. Like,
unless it's just a marketing calculus where they just say, we don't think we have enough people at this price point that are going to be interested in anti-twist. No. And once they get interested in anti-twist, they'll move on to
No. Anti-twist is not a high-end feature. It's just a feature that prevents the camera from twisting. I know. I'll again talk with Sony about this, but again, when you have a few 1/4" 20s on the body, it's not that difficult to like create a plate with anti-twist because you connect it to 2 places, and then the plate will have an anti-twist or eye pinholes. Right. But why not build it into the camera if you're already doing that? I don't know. Anyway, So that's the EOS R50V. Pricing is fairly affordable, $650 for the camera itself and $850 with a lens that we'll talk about next, which is the RF-S 40-30. So it's an APS-C camera, APS-C lens, image stabilization, STM autofocus, PZ, so basically power zoom, and it's equivalent to 22 to 48 on a full frame in terms of the viewing angle. It's very light, 100.
I was going to say this sort of seems like a kit lens, but then not, because it has
No, it's wider.
right.
What, the power zoom?
And it has the power zoom.
Sony kit lens also had that.
Oh,
the
it does?
APS-C also has a power zoom.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not that special.
Okay, so it's basically like a kit lens, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the kit lens for the R50.
It is the new kit lens. Okay,
For the but for the V. I'm not sure if for the R50,
that's
the
what
regular
I was
one.
wondering.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's around. It has 5-stop of IBIS, 50 centimeter minimum close-up magnification, and it's $330 on its own. If you just buy it for your existing R50 or whatever. So yeah, it's cool looking mini kit lens, whatever you want to call it. Okay, Nikon has its own, let's call it entry level. I'm not sure if it's an entry level. It's a like basic full frame camera. It's the Z5 II. So they had the Z5 a couple of years ago, and now they have the Z5 II. And we just looked at some of the features before this talk. And do you remember all the things that we've
Maybe
seen?
this is like meant to compete with like an A7C, a Sony A7C, like a smaller full frame.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you ask me?
No, the features.
Yeah. I mean, it's got that really bright EVF, which we're trying to figure out why if that's not the LCD that it's actually talking about when it says 3000 nit.
I'm hoping that we didn't get this wrong, that it actually has a 3000 nit EVF. If it does, it's really strange. I'm not sure why.
Otherwise we'll correct on the screen.
Yeah.
It's either the EVF or the LCD. I'm betting that that what we were reading was off, and it was actually the LCD. But
if it's an LCD, that's really interesting. But the problematic thing about it will be that it will consume a ton of battery very quickly.
maybe it's just an option, and you can lower it. I
Yeah,
mean, we
of
can do
course.
that on our current cameras.
Yeah.
7.5 stops, which is
IBIS.
of IBIS, which is pretty good at that price point.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think you already mentioned it's got 24 megapixels, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit like an A7 IV.
Sort of an entry level, low, fairly budgety full frame. In terms of like the pricing, $1,700.
Right.
That's cool for a full frame camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, a new full frame. Yeah, it's a cool spec camera. I didn't test it, so I can't like remark on its actual capabilities, but pretty nice. Now let's talk about a much higher end 24 megapixel camera. It's actually two cameras, and these are the Panasonic Lumix S1II and S1II.
Yeah. It's funny how they have 1.2.
Yeah, it's a strange name. Anyway, so this is also a 24 megapixel sensor full frame camera, but the regular version, not the E version, is a semi-stacked or partially stacked sensor. Kind of strange. It's like not fully stacked, but I'm assuming that how do you call it, when you quickly move like sideways. So
Panning, when you pan the rolling shutter.
Exactly. The rolling shutter is actually pretty good on a semi-stacked sensor, on a stacked.
Right.
Yeah, so whatever. But so this is one thing.
Dynamic range is also really good.
Yeah, very good.
Was it 18 or 17?
Something like that, yeah.
Yep.
It has an advanced phase detection, hybrid, whatever, autofocus. What's nice about this, I think it can automatically detects the subject in terms of like a person, cat, airplane, whatever. But it also has, I think, a new feature which is like tracking irregular movements. And B&H did the video with like a dancer in a studio doing all sorts of strange movements. I'm not sure if this is the best like demo of that, but it looks pretty cool. Like, remember a couple of years ago, Panasonic had the worst autofocus of the bunch, like Sony, Canon, Nikon.
What was interesting about this demonstration also with the dancer was that they had a bunch of other people standing in the background, also kind of moving around, and it did a very good job of staying focused on
the dancer, even when he like moved around or did something interesting.
They're getting better.
Yeah. So I think you mentioned 8 stops of IBIS. I think it's 5.1K 60p. It has all sorts of open gates, like always with Panasonic. Open gate options, 4K 120. The E version, the difference between the E and non-E versions is that it's not a partially stacked sensor.
Right.
And it's only 30 frames per second instead of 70 frames per second. I'm talking stills. In stills. So the non-E is like 70 frames per second full resolution, which is...
Is that raw pictures?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Even 30 frames per second is really cool.
Yeah.
I think, I'm not 100% sure if it's, I'm pretty sure it's raw. Like, I think that like Nikon has on the A9, I think, on the A9, the
Nikon or Sony?
Z9, Z9, Z9 has like 120 frames per second, but it's just JPEGs.
Okay.
The A1 Mark II, the A9 Mark III has, I think, 120 in RAW. Yeah.
Right.
This one has 70, I think, in RAW. So, but the E version has only 30.
It would make sense that it was RAW then.
Yeah. Whatever, but this is 24 megapixel.
Still good enough to make a movie out of. If you want to record the sound separately, right?
It's insane. Yeah, no, it's insane. And I think that there are some differences in the video resolution between the E and non-E versions. So you can look I think the B&H video has all the differences, or at least the main ones. I don't have the pricing. I'll put it on the screen, but it's a pretty advanced camera. For sure. And they have previously, we discussed the R version, which is like the higher resolution version. This is 24 megapixel. So they now have like very comparable to what Sony and maybe other like Canon and Nikon has in their lineup. Zoom has a new H5 Studio recorder. Now, the original one, I think, was released like 11 years ago, something like that. So this is it took them some years to come up with this one. So it has USB-C 32-bit float, micro SD with, I think, Bluetooth adapter is an option.
All the best bells and whistles that
basically
have evolved over the last 10 years.
It has 2 XLRs with 2 optional ones. I'm not sure how you connect them. And larger X and XY built-in mics. And you can change the gain. I think you mentioned that even you have a different zoom.
F3.
And you can also change the gain while in 32-bit float mode.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and all of this is like $350. So it's kind of interesting. Next one we have Viltrox. And
if I remember correctly, my Zoom F3 might have been around the same price.
Like a 350?
When I originally bought it, now like 7 years ago,
really?
6 years ago. Was it that long ago? At least 5 years ago. I got it, and I think it was around that price.
That's price. Okay,
it's probably cheaper now.
Viltrox has a new Air line lens, which is the 50 AF Viltrox AF 50mm f2 Air, which exists for the FE and Z mounts. Relatively small, light, full frame lens, very inexpensive and very like compact. So,
everybody's coming out with these heavy 50 millimeters lately, and I would much rather be walking around with this light one. Obviously we want both, but I'm more in the market for one of these.
The big ones, like we're testing the 35mm f1.2.
Right.
So Sony has the 1.2.
Right.
These are like the 50 1.2. These are massive and fairly expensive. This one is like $200.
Yeah.
So it's nothing and it's very compact. Yeah, you get only f2, but for some situations, f2 is great. You know?
No, it's still really good.
Yeah, so it's definitely an option if you're looking for a nifty 50, if you like. And I think I've seen some reviews, and the image quality was very good from what I've seen. Not really surprising for an f2 lens, but why not for $200?
I mean, I shoot at f2 with my Tamron 35 to 135, is it, or 150? But I love shooting at f2. It only shoots at f2. I think, is it constant or does it go up? I think it goes up. It only shoots at f2 at 35. Then it goes up a little bit. But I would love to have f2 at 50 millimeters and not have to carry around that massive zoom lens. So
that's an interesting
kind of right
lens
up my alley.
Yeah. Laowa has a 15 millimeter f4 lens, which has macro capabilities, or let's call it semi-macro.
Semi-macro.
Yeah. It's
close up.
Yeah, it's 1 to 2, basically 0.5x magnification, or 1 to 2. Its minimum focus distance is 13 centimeters, so really close to the lens. And it's also very small and light. It's only 300 and something grams, so really tiny.
Yeah.
And $400. So kind of cool. If you like this look of close-up macro-ish, or whatever you want to call it, close-up wide angle, this is definitely a lens that you should check. It's not autofocus, and Laowa did start making autofocus lenses recently, so maybe in the future they will have a version of it like with autofocus. It's not super important because it's a wide angle, super wide angle lens.
Well, everything's always in focus anyway.
Honestly, it's not true. You know, if you shot super wide angle, it's not ultra wide angle. It's not always in focus.
No,
but it's
easier.
It's easier. Yeah, that's for sure. Again, $400. That's interesting. Finally, we have something which DJI recently announced, and that's the Mavic 4 Pro.
I'm so excited. I didn't even know about it until you told me.
It's really new, like a few days ago, I think.
That must be why.
Yeah. So what's new about this? I think you looked at some of the specs.
So there's a bunch of new stuff. I mean, the camera and gimbal itself is like a complete redesign. It's now a round unit instead of sort of a flat front-facing kind of thing. So we were just talking about how are they going to. I'm sure the companies are working on it right now, and they'll come out with something. But however they're going to get the NDs on it, I'm not really sure because it's so kind of smooth on the front. But they'll come up with something. What I liked most about it, what I was so impressed by, is the ability to retrace a flight path without GPS. I mean, the ability to retrace a flight path, period, is really cool. Now, I know that we have, what's that software program? Litchi, right? So Litchi is one of a few programs that if you use it with your drone, you can, but it's a third-party software. It's not native. It's like you got to be a little bit of a programmer to run it. It's not a simple program. But here, the ability to, okay, I'm going to fly very slowly where I want my drone to go when I'm actually shooting. And then when I'm actually shooting, I can just have it do it automatically. Now, my question is, and I'll have to watch more videos and see more reviews, but my question is, can you speed up how fast it's going through your course the way that you can with the recent Inspire 4, where you can kind of throttle up and down as it's going through a relatively complex set of movements, and therefore, achieve a kind of flying that you would not be able to do in the moment at that speed, whether it's a high rate of speed that you need or very low rate of speed that you need. So it could be that they have given some of the Inspire features to the Mavic. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, it looks like it's really a level up.
Yeah.
And not available in the United States yet, which is another interesting thing.
Something about being semi-available. I know it's kind of strange, the situation.
I think it's because of the security stuff and some kind of ban, which I have not been reading up enough about, but I've seen videos on it for the last year at least. This was coming. And now with the
new administration,
we have a lot of stuff going on. So we'll see. But we may be the only ones in Europe maybe the only ones outside of the United States. And I mean, everybody outside of the United States can get it, but it's a big market.
No, it's strange. What was interesting about what you said about the Inspire capabilities that they're bringing into this, if it's true, then there are very specific situations where, as you mentioned, let's say that you want to do, like, let's say in a movie, you want to, or a commercial, whatever, you want to do a very complex move between like buildings or something like that, which are fixed, like the target is fixed, and only something is changing, like an actor is running.
Right.
And he can run like he's running straight, but the drone is doing like very complex movements between like I don't know, pillars in like the background or something.
Traffic lights and things.
Whatever. And you're not going to do this when like fast moving when you're in the actual scene, but you can in the rehearsal you can do it very slowly, very like very securely and slowly between the
and maybe one step at a time. Maybe you don't have to perform the whole thing at once.
So you can move like this and then like this and then like
save
this.
The move and then
save
do
it
move.
And then have like very quickly move it between the stands and adapt the speed to the running of the person. You know, whatever. So that can be really cool. It's very advanced capability. I don't know how well they integrated this whole thing, but the idea is cool. I think it has, like in terms of features, we didn't discuss them. It has a longer range, a better reception. It has a front LiDAR. You mentioned the cameras.
It's getting better again, even more. I mean, this is kind of all the upgrades that we would imagine that it would have. It's
100 megapixel sensors on some of the cameras.
Yeah, the other two sensors and the other slash cameras, the telephoto lenses, the other two are now much better.
Yeah.
One was barely usable. I think that the medium range one was a little bit better. Now the medium range one is great. I forgot what the sizes are, but they're respectable sensor sizes. And so now you've got like so many more options. It also has 16 stops of dynamic range in that largest sensor, which is, you know, now people were already using the drone as a regular camera, you know, without actually flying it, and they were getting great, you know, stabilized,
still images,
really nice. No, I'm just talking about video. People could use it. I mean, I don't think it's very practical, but you could turn it on and then just not fly it and use it like a camera. I've seen it mounted on a fluid head even, but with 16 stops of dynamic range, I mean, that's going to be a little bit more tempting.
Yeah, interesting. I'm not sure if somebody will buy it for that. But
no, they don't buy it for that. But when your camera fails and you're also doing a drone flight, now I can just take my drone as my backup camera. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think we also discussed before this talk, we also discussed you mentioned the VND situation.
Yeah.
What I would like to see is a built-in eVND in a future drone. Yeah. And this can happen via the guys from Sweden with their electronic VND technology. Mm-hmm. So if they can somehow integrate it with what DJI are already doing, that could be really, really cool. Yeah. Because at the moment, you only can place ND filters on a camera, and sometimes the sun is changing. You're pointing at a different place, which has a different lighting situation. So all sorts of things can happen if you're away from the sun, towards the sun, whatever.
Yeah, you want adjustability.
Video, exactly. So that's So that could be cool. I know if we get a chance, we'll talk to them and see if they can actually do that. So, in terms of pricing, I think the lowest that we have seen, there are a lot of kits for the Mavic 4 Pro.
It was like 2,400 to 4,400.
24, 2,600.
Maybe it was 26.
Something like this, yeah.
So if you didn't want to get the new remote, they've got a really nice, fancy new remote, which kind of looks like the Inspire remote because it's got a screen that pops up. You don't have to screw on the control sticks anymore. That's amazing.
And you can also, I think, twist it to vertical, right?
Yes. Yeah. Just like the what was it? The Mini 4 Pro
which you can
was
also...
able to the camera itself, the whole thing would switch. Now, the same thing, the whole camera assembly can switch into vertical orientation.
That's interesting.
And you do that by switching your monitor into vertical orientation.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like this concept.
Very intuitive.
I wish that camera manufacturer would come up with something like that. That would be really interesting. Think about it. You know, you have like you press a button on your camera and the whole thing switches. I think the mechanics of this will be a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
It would probably be easier.
Something like a tripod collar, except it does it for you.
Yeah. No, probably an open gate that is a little bit more friendly to vertical shooting is the easiest solution, but whatever. So that's the Mavic Pro, DJI Mavic Pro 4 Pro drone. And I think that's going to conclude this talk, LensVid Talk 38. Thank you, Lou.
Thanks, Ido.
And as always, don't forget to subscribe. We have a lot of more videos coming up, reviews and LensVid Talks coming up very soon. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.